You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And it looks as if, there we go. I don't know what happened there, but the camera did not come on. But it's another Saturday. It's another episode. And this box right here is the explanation of tonight's topic. But we will get to that here shortly. But for right now, welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee, and we're about to get into some nasty stuff. Why? Because the secondary market has been lying to us, and we've been getting bamboozled in this modern age of comics here. But I'll explain more in a little bit here. Oh, yeah. This is only a handful of the stuff that I sent over to them. My artist stuff have not arrived as of yet, but then again, they haven't finished grading it. I do have some signature series. I have some more vintage stuff. That's 2 vintage books that's getting graded. 2 that is finally getting JSA certification here. So I'm about to have my first experience with JSA certification as well. They haven't been done. Those are still being pressed and graded. So it's the vintage stuff that's sent over being pressed and graded, and my artist stuff, which is like another 5 or 6 books, still hasn't been graded as of yet. But this is the stuff that really didn't need pressing or anything to that magnitude. And there's Beanie, and she's ready to go and everything. So let's go ahead and knock out the things that we got to knock out here first by saying, the whole thing about. Wait, did it hiccup? No. Okay, there we go. I'm about to say, did it hiccup again? I don't know what is going on with these hiccups all of a sudden, but stupid o'clock happens 1 hour into our show here. If we go into a second hour, depends on how big the rent goes. I don't know here. And then we got Last Man Standing following after that at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here. And that gives us a time to get some rest and relaxation after this upcoming Mother's Day. So shout outs to the Sun Strider clan over there. Happy Mother's Day for those who it applies to. But after that, after Mother's Day, you still get that little bit of a rest before you get Nicholas Tucker for Nevermind the Furthermore on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget about Comic Book Spectrum, which is 7 p.m. this upcoming Thursday. I don't know what we're going to talk about. However, we're going to do issues 5 and 6 of Fire and Ice. What is it called? Fire and Ice When Hell Freezes Over. No, yeah, I think that's what it's called. I don't have the book in front of me, but issue 5 and 6 is about to get ready to be done there. So this is the part that Beanie was looking forward to, because why? It is time for new comic book pickups for the week here, and we're going to make her a little bit angry like a Jigglypuff, because the first 2 books are going to be X-Men number 9 that came in, and then I still believe that this is first Power Girl. This is Showcase 97. This is the first solo appearance of Power Girl as a whole here, which is pretty nice. But with that being stated here, and I showed it on Thursday. If you haven't been watching Comic Book Spectrum on Thursday, we have a nice little package from one of my youngest viewers out there here, Beanie. And she's up here. It's like, I convinced people to get you books. So it's like, okay, cool. But I told her I'm not going to show what those books are until tonight. So we're going to open up the bag. Slowly it opens, inch by inch, slide by slide. We're going to pull out the books here. And we got a small stack like that. And we're going to start out by having the Tom King version of Wonder Woman, but this is a special one because this is issue number 22 with the George Perez artwork on it for Wonder Woman 22, which is nice and pretty. Yep. And then we got the Uncanny X-Men issue number 20, which is the Alex Ross Timeless variant of Rogue, which is nice. And then on top of that, we got West Coast Avengers Volume 4, issue number 7, which we got the Tigra. Yay. And then we got from Volume 5 of Storm, issue number 1, which is the logo variant. Now, one of the things that is weird about the logo variant, and the one thing that most people probably going to try to have artists to do, is that the logo variant is still red or blank, and we can still draw on it. But the problem here is, unlike regular blank ones, which is cardstock, this is an actual comic page. So if we do sketches on it, and it's probably best for only pencil sketches only. I mean, we could probably get away with pen if the person is very, very good. But if we do like a fully fledged rendering of a blank, such as something like I did here, this is actually cardstock, so we can actually use like Prismacolor markers and everything. We will have to worry about the cover getting bleed and the markers bleed through the cover, and that does bring down the actual grade of the book if you do that on a logo variant. So logo and blanks are two different things here. Blanks are usually cardstock. The logo variant is usually the same. I want to say 80-pound glossy paper. So that's the major difference here. Sharpies can bleed through. Sharpies can bleed through glossy paper. So you have to still be careful with that, with glossy, with the logo variants here. So now let's get back to the Beanie books here. We got Titans Volume 4, issue number 31, which is the Starfire cover there. And then she got me one of the weird, well, actually, this was one of the ones that was not pulled by my normal people that pulls it here. We got Storm Life Dream number 1, the one shot here. And this is cover B. At least they have it listed as cover B. But I don't remember having this copy of this Storm Life Dream here. I don't believe that was ever pulled for me. And then we got another copy of Thunderbolts Doomstrike, which is the Alex Ross Monica Rambeau. And then we got a full set. Yep, a full set of Rogue Storm, starting off with issue number 1, which is a Storm cover. And then we got the variant number 2, which is the Street First In-Yuk Lee Storm variant. And then I believe this is just the regular A cover of Storm Rogue. And then we got issue number 25, which is the headshot of Chitara. So those are the Beanie books here. Yay, I picked that story. That's what she's saying here. So that's what she's saying here. So that's good here. Yeah, just standard paper, not cardstock. Yeah, that's the one bad thing about the logo variants here, because I got the logo variant of Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, and I didn't do anything on it once I saw that it was regular paper. And I was like, that makes it hard. But anyway, you can still do sketches and stuff on it. You just couldn't do much beyond that here. So we got Rick and Morty number 51 that came in this week. Notice that I'm not putting it with the Beanie books here. And then we got another Huntress number 1 from the 1989, 1989 series here. I still believe I got about 5 or 6 of those already. I don't know how or why, but I believe it's only because this is the Colin Wing variant, and it is dirty, so I have to clean it up here. But this is Avengers Annual number 1 variant, but that's the Colin Wing one. And then I got another very nice. It's still got a little bit of tear there, but it's still very nice. But it's still, I don't think it is better than the one that I already have graded here. But it is a What If Jane Foster Was Thor, the What If number 10. Now, this one I actually lucked up on because I haven't seen these in the wild. But this is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Century. So I got all 3 parts of that here. So we got 1910, which is part 1, 1960s, which is part 2, and 2009, which is part 3 for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Century, which is nice. All of those were perfect bound books here. And I finally brought myself to the point to start really collecting this again. But we got some issues of Xenozonic Tales. And for those who don't know what Xenozonic Tales are, this is the old school Cadillacs and dinosaurs here. So we got issue number 8 from Xenozonic Tales, issue number 9, and issue 10. So we got the part of the kitchen sink run of Xenozonic Tales. And then we got issue number 2. And whoa, why is that there? I don't know. And issue number 7 of Heroes for Hires Volume 3. And I think that is getting close to completing that run. We got another Magnificent Miss Marvel number 1. But that's not all. We got other issues of Magnificent Miss Marvel, which is issue number 8 and issue number 10. These 2 were ones that I was missing. Then we got another copy of Daredevil 255. I believe this is like either my 4th or 5th copy, but it's also, as Beanie would say, it's a newsstand edition. And then I got another Wonder Woman 220. If those who know, I sold, I think, both the direct and the newsstand version, the extra newsstand one that I had of 220. So this is also an extra, but that one is more up there where it could be like a possible upgrade and everything. Then we got some more Vengeance of Vampirella, getting to the point where we're getting close to finishing off the Harris Comics run of Vengeance of Vampirella, which is issue number 5 and issue number 13. So we're getting close to completing that run here. And then we got issue, what issue is this? We got issue number 4 of these. This is the first volume of Supergirl, I believe. That's if my memory serves me correct. And then we picked up some more pockets of New Mutants. So outside of the 2 major books of New Mutants here, I'm getting close to having all of them. So we got issue number 14, 23, and a 94. And she said, I still need to work on volume 1 of Supergirl. Yep. I still need a few. Cool. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like somebody else had the Honda giveaway one in on Whatnot, and I let it go because I could have sworn I could have sworn that we got one from Randy, but I have to go and check again. Send me your new moves list. I have a ton of them. I can send. Okay, and then as I always tell people, I don't really buy a lot of books unless they're upgrades. And this one is, it was pricey, but it was an upgrade. Wonder Woman 195. This is an upgrade compared to the one that I actually got and the one that I actually sold. It's like one I sold that was, was a nice reader copy, but this is a nicer upgrade than the one that I kept. I think I got two, but that one is definitely nicer than both of them. And then I also, to go along with my Bionic Woman #1 that I showed last week, I ended up getting a Bionic Woman #3, which is nice. And this is something that I think will probably make Beanie happy here, even though it's the cover. The cover is not in the best of conditions here. But I got Jughead as Captain Hero #1. So this is the first one of the whole Captain Hero series where Jughead becomes a superhero. So that's a nice here. And then we got Johnny Quest #9. For people who are up here into Johnny Quest, it's like that was just a short run series from Comic-Con, but it is what it is. And then we got Plutona #1. That was a freebie that was given to me here. And then we got another upgraded book here. And it's not that much of an upgrade. I still believe the other one is still better. But we got Lois Lane about to hit Superman with a big old rock of kryptonite. Talk about, I'm more mightier than you now. Ha ha ha. It's like, yep, go ahead and hit him with that green rock. He deserves it. But there it is. Lois Lane 85. And then I still need to figure out how many of these I'm still missing here. And this I would consider more or less a reader copy, but I'm happy that I was able to get it, which is Good Girl Art Quarterly #15. So that was one of the ones that I definitely didn't have because it was a photo cover. And this one is kind of weird and hard to find, but it is what it is for right now until I can get a better one. Then we got Avengers Invaders #1, which is nice. And we're making a good run. We're making a good run to complete the Barbie fashion, which now means that I got issues 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, and 42. So we're getting closer and closer to completing that. I believe that one went 50 something issues. We end up getting Cloak and Dagger #7, which could almost completes volume 2. I know I still got a whole bunch more to complete with that here. And then with the regular Barbie series, again, my 1 through 30 has not shown up as of yet here. Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a few moments here, Aaron. We'll get to that here. We'll get to that here. So let me come back to the comments here. It's like, yeah, it's like you definitely have one. Yeah, I sold a 98 for, oh, see. Oh, I'm going to explain. I'm going to talk about stuff like that too. Yeah, for you, the ones you need would be free 99. Yeah. That series is dope. Yep. Avengers Invaders, cool. And that's when he was asking about that, and everybody saying hi. Beanie is so stoked she picked out the bookie for Joe, and he didn't have it at all. Yep. So now we getting back to the Barbie. So we're saying my 1 through 30 has not shown up as of yet. So I'm still working with said store owner for I can make certain that I get those 1 through 30s here, or else I'll be back to square one. But we got issues 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 37, and 50. So we're getting closer and closer to ending that run as well. And then as far as the normal stuff that came in, I got the book that was pulled by one of our favorite. It's like Parallax Spectanos who pulled this here. 9.8 of Mighty Valkyries #2. So that's one of the few graded ones that was purchased for only a slight little nominal fee. So now I'm going to move the Beanie books over here. And that it brings us to the end of, oh yeah, yep. Granddad, yep. So that brings us to the update for the week here. And like I said before, if you wasn't here last week, I started to update the cards now because people need to know. As much as I talked about having a lot of Film Force and people were like, oh, you don't have them. It's like, yeah, I do have a lot more than what I led on to. But yeah, I have the first 108 and it's still 50 more than I'm missing in the run here. So those are the actual issues that I'm missing in between 205 and 108. So there's the 50 issues there. No new update on Ghost because I haven't been able to find any newer issues in Ghost from my normal sources here. Same thing for the Spirit. You know, it seems like people are now slowly and surely trying to hold on to those. X-Men, I just really haven't been really looking because I know those the newer stuff is plentiful. I don't have to like break my neck for it. And for those who doubt me and Wonder Woman, everything that I got here, I've been saying for issue 130 to present here, but there is the definitive list of the 106 that I'm missing here. And yes, we're talking about all the way to the 1940s here. So that's 1940s number 1 through 8, number 10 through 22. I do have a 23, 24 through 27. I have a 28, 29 through 50. I have a 60. I have a 62. I have a 64. Then we got a little bit of a chunk there. And then I have a 77. Well, I think the 77 is 77 and is a reprint, but I'm not certain here. 85 I have. Then we got a lot of the keys that was in between 88 and 92. I have a 98, and then in the 100s it's only a handful in the 100s that I'm missing here. And I do have my eye on a 129. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it as of yet here, but this number is going to eventually get dwindled. But the thing about it is, once I get beyond 121, the price tag for those issues go up dramatically, and it's not fair anymore. Same thing with the second volume of X-Men here. But when I say second volume, I'm talking about anything from like the Jim Lee run forward here. And say, yeah, I hope he's doing well this weekend without Scout. Yeah, I think he is. It's just more along the lines that we'll talk about that here in a minute here, but bear with me for 1 second. But those are the missing issues that I have for the last 2 volumes of X-Men. But you know, when it comes to your companion, when it comes to pets, it's hard. I have been through 2 that have passed away, and both of them passed away because of natural causes. One just had at the last moment, just coronary, just gone. The other one was getting close to, it was almost like renal failure, you know, just, it's like, couldn't, it's like he would eat and everything, but, you know, his digestive system just couldn't break stuff down and everything. And it got to the point where he was so inconstant that it was just not worth it anymore. He was suffering too much. I got you some ghost. Okay. It's incoming. Okay. Um B says, "Oh, yeah." But again, Beanie, you seen Christy. Christy's still somewhere around here, running around here upstairs. So it is what it is. But yeah, so I understand what Randy's going through. I just don't talk about stuff like that because you don't know how close people are to their dog and cats and whatever pets that they are. And if he was really close to him, it's like you just don't want to bring it up. You just want them to remember the good memories more so than anything else here. Like, for example, it's like, the first one that actually died of natural causes was a Pekingese by the name of Christopher. A little bitty black-faced Pekingese here. And then the other one was a Chihuahua by the name of Chi Chi. And that was the one that would have the renal failure and just was in constant towards the very end, but he was always in good spirits, still, he was sluggish, but he wasn't like, mopey, moping around and everything. But it was just like, going to the bathroom was like, you could tell that Chi Chi was in pain going to the bathroom. It was just that bad here. Yeah, when George lost Bella, he exuded dark energy. Like, yeah, I could understand that. It's not an easy thing, especially not within like the first couple of days. And everything, it was just not a good thing. Like when Chi Chi was put down, it's like, in a way, I kind of felt like my sister was putting on a show, but again, I have to take that step back. I have to take that step back because it affected her differently than it affected me. And it affected me differently because I was the one that was doing all the cleaning up and everything to that magnitude, and I understood what it meant. With her not being around like she should have to look after him, it's like I kind of felt that she had a little bit more of the guilty conscience and the reason why she boo-hooed and stuff more. But that's a whole different thing. Like I said, it really depends on how close you were to the pet itself here. Like, for example, if something was to happen to Christy, yeah, I would be sad. And the reason I probably would be a little bit more sadder than some of the other ones is because for some reason she imprinted on me. So pretty much I'm like, not it's like they call they call me her big brother, but in some fashion it seems like Christy seems like I'm like pack leader. I'm like the pack leader of the house here, when I'm really am not, but she treats me more like pack leader, and there's just certain things that she would listen to me about than the other people in the house. So it's kind of like be like one of those things here. But I have been through and walked people through loss of pets before, and that was kind of like the one thing. But that's the thing, she sleeps around my sister and mother, but when it comes to like needing things and when they don't know what she wants, she comes up to me. It's like it's so weird because out of every person, it's just like she would just come up to me and just be like belly up. It's just weird. It's like I get to the point. It's like, why are you so comfortable with me? And then I realized it because like she imprinted on me ever since she was a little bitty puppy. You know, I was the one that would play around with her. You know, I kind of showed her how to kind of like eat from like a little bitty puppy stage and everything, and told her it's like, yeah, it is okay to eat this and not okay to eat that. You know, I kept her from harm. So I was like, I get it. I get it. So that's the reason why. So it's like even on my like worst day, if I get angry and everything, she'll just come up and just like look at me and be like, it just does something to kind of make me bust up laughing. So, but you know, in a weird way, that's just the way that it is. But saying all that to say, it's like, yeah, what Randad is going through is like, I understand wholeheartedly. It's like it's just not something that easy to say. It's like, oh, I'm going to miss Scout or be heartbroken. It's like there's another one of my gaming friends. She recently lost her long time puppy by the name of Ziggle. So I was like, I kind of left that alone because that was her road dog, you know. And now with Ziggles not being around, it's like it's a whole different chapter for her life, you know. So it's like people grieve in different ways, and it's like, and people don't realize it's like pets are really family members. They really are. They really are. It's not. People try to make it sound like pets are not equal to humans, but it is, especially if you're really attached and bonded to them. They are is like losing them. It's like losing a family. It's like losing like a brother or a sister or a mother or a father. It can get that deep. So that's why I say I understand, especially after, you know, losing grandparents. You know, I lost my father, lost a brother already. So it's like I get it. I understand that, but that's not why we're here today. We went through the collector update. Production update real quick before we get into this rant. Yeah, B, I agree. Both that the doggies are vast superior to sticky humans. But getting to the production update here, I am working on more of the anthology stories for Legends of the Giantess Slayer here. I have done some work on Amazonia, so be on the lookout for that as a whole here, as far as me starting to show actual comic book pages soon. And I haven't made time to work with Elaine for the final revisions of the Primetime Saturday Night role-playing game core manual here. Let me see if I can remember which particular one. I believe what she said, the one that she truly picked out was this one. That if my memory serves me correct, that was the one that she said, yeah, I picked that one especially for you. That's the one that I believe that she said. So that was part of the bookie plan here. So with that being said, we are going to the box and why we have the topic for tonight. The secondary market is lying to us. Because in this CGC box is a book that was speculated on. And after I did my research, after finding out my grade and everything, and no, the book didn't come back in 9.8, because if it did, then I would really be livid about how the secondary market is lying to us here. But saying all that to say, yes, secondary market has been lying to us for quite some time, and we really need to check ourselves. But for those who know what this box entail, it is a CGC submission box that came back here. And we got other examples that I'm going to talk about as well. I got that staying off to the side here. But first things first, you know, it's been a while since I did a live CGC unboxing here. I do know what grades are in here, what books and what grades that they already are. So it's not like I'm doing a reaction, first time reaction here, because I'm not one for real mystery in that aspect. I like knowing ahead of time about certain things here. Oh, okay. If you're not intended recipient, okay. And they didn't wrap this. They didn't wrap this the normal way that they're supposed to wrap it. They didn't put it in this normal bubble mailer. So now I gotta really check for damage because there is a hole in the box. So I will be mad if they didn't, because of, okay. Nope, no cracks, no dents or anything. So that's a good sign here. So that's a good sign. So I know you guys already saw the first book, or kind of already showed it here. And already thank Randad for this one. This is one that we got for Randad here. Book's moving a little bit, but that's okay. But we got a Planet She-Hulk #1 that came back at 9.8, which is nice and pretty. I'm going to save the book that we're going to talk about here for last. The one that made me come up with this topic. We want to save that one for last. So I'm going to put that one over here. This is the one that the one person that wanted to partner up with me for preservational purposes here was constantly bothering. You got to get it graded. You got to get it graded. You got to get it graded. It's like, yeah, I know it's a high grade and everything, but it didn't get the 9.8, but it did get the 9.6 here. I'm just looking it over as of right now. I'm trying to see where finger bends are at, but I believe they said it's like their finger bends up in this one only because I just didn't get it pressed. That's pretty much it. Except for right there, I see it. But that to me is kind of like a nitpick. There's a small little bend right there. And that could have been because of them, or it could have been because of something else here. But I just see that one. So they knocked it down from a 9.8 to a 9.6, but there it is. The one that a lot of people was going goo goo gaga over before the price of it dropped down. The Adam Hughes lineup of Catwoman 51. Now I had an opportunity to buy a 9.8 one a while back at $100 and something, but I was like, no, I already have one. I just haven't got it graded yet. It is what it is. And then another highly speculated book came back here, and they said the exact same thing here with finger bends here, but I don't think it's finger bends. I do see the reading crease right there, but that comes from printing here. But outside of that, it is a nice one. It's still Young Avengers #1, the original Young Avengers #1. I have not sent over the director's cut #1 as of yet here, but that is a 9.2. Now, the last book is why we're doing this. Now, let me go ahead. It's like, wait, what? Okay, I'm confused. Beanie got it's like Beanie got me a book. No, it's like Beanie got Joe a book. That's what I thought. Okay, she picked it out. The variant cover, nice. Yeah, the one-shot Storm one. Oh, that was the one-shot Storm one. Yeah, I did not have that one. She kind of paid attention here. But the reason why we're doing this here is because not too long ago, and I say not too long ago, we're talking about less than a couple of weeks. Everybody was talking about, books that are flying up on the radar and people should be getting them graded and everything to that magnitude. One of those books that came up was this one right here. And that book is second print. Let me take it out of the plastic, the glare. The second print, Gotham City Sirens #1. There it is. I ended up getting a 9.2. And the reason being is that this was getting highly speculated because there was so-called, I'm putting my quotation fingers up, recent sales of a 9.8 second print was eclipsing, again, for plastic sake here, the 9.8 first print. This one was going almost 3 times as much as a 9.8, was in the upper $400, while this one was barely over like 125, 150. So in that range here. So this one, was pretty pricey, for my taste, for what it was worth. But this one out of nowhere was getting over $400, and we're trying to figure out, well, what's the deal and everything here. So I was like, well, I have one, if there was really a uptick in the whole second print thing, then let me go ahead and see what's what here. So I got the 9.2. And I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. So when I found out that was a 9.2, I go back to my normal sources here. My normal sources will be GP Analysis, Go Collect, and looking at eBay. eBay, I have no faith in, because as I've been telling a lot of people, when it comes to value of books, eBay is the worst source, period. Because for one, not everybody's going to do the average of every sale. They just go and look at a few and be like, okay, this one went for 50, that one went for 150, 100, 175, 200, 300. Oh, I see one for $500. I might go and try to get that $500. Like, it's no standard when it comes to eBay. You have to take an average of all sales to get fair market value, and people don't do that. People do like, oh, I see that a lot of people did it for 50, so mine must be worth 50. It's like, no, doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that as a whole here. You have to take in consideration of condition. You have to take in consideration of the demand for the book, because that demand could have been gone and passed, and you just didn't even know it here. But when I took a deeper look into what was going on with this one here, and GP Analysis told the tale, that $400 plus sale was one sale. One. Happened 12 months ago. But people are now noticing it, and was like, I might have a second print. I might go out there and put it out there on eBay and try to hope to get that one $400 sale. And I'm up here, I was like, but that's not fair market value of that. Nowhere close to the fair market value. You cannot predict that the fair market value at a 9.8 of this book is that $400 price. Even when I look at it for a 9.2, the 9.2 makes this no more than like a $40 book at best, which means that for the price of what I paid to get it graded, that's the value of the book, was the price of getting it graded, roughly about. And that's not even taking consideration of shipping and all the other stuff here. So for the low price of getting the book graded, that's the total value of the book. And this is one of the reasons why you have so many these so-called investors that say, oh yeah, you should only get the books that is worth graded. And I'm up there, I was like, that's a bunch of bull to me. You should only grade the stuff that you want to maintain the value of or the grade of, because encapsulation should always be more about preservation than value. An 8.5 is an 8.5. A 9.0 is a 9.0. A 9.8 is a 9.8. Regardless. But if you're doing it because I'm hoping for a big payday, you're rolling the dice and gambling, to be quite honest here. And this makes me go back to the whole thing about speculation here and why the secondary market is lying to us. Because we truly don't know demand based upon sales data. Sales data is a thing left to interpretation. You truly do not know what is going to be truly more valuable in the long run. Is the first print going to be more valuable than the second print? And all this other stuff. It's left to the eye of the actual collector. And I poke fun. I poke fun at certain things and everything. Like, for example, for those who know how I am, and see, it's like either they're shooting fireworks or the Japs are bombing our bridges. Okay, so there's something going over there in New York. I'm not going to go into that here, but just to be fair, there were books that I actually speculated on, and those two books are Action Comics 592 and 593. These are two books that I actually speculated on. Why? Because there was a couple of things that had happened, not just in the books themselves, but in the art world that had happened, what makes if it gets paired up with said artwork a lot more valuable. However, not everybody understands that aspect of it. Just like, people would speculate based upon artists such as Dave Stevens. And for those who up here, know about Dave Stevens here, this purchase right here was based upon the fact that somebody say, hey, I got a Dave Stevens cover. I'll go ahead and let it go, this, that, and the other. They put it up for auction. And I got it for a decent price at a 9.4. And when I say a decent price, I'm talking about really less than $50. But that's one of those things that it's like, I bought it only solely for the fact that it was kind of like one of those things that it's like, well, everybody's up here talking about Dave Stevens as a hot commodity as of right now. And this book was sought after. And I'm up here, it's like, I look at it, it's like, yeah, it's like, it may be sought after, but, some of the things just, doesn't jive right with me. And yes, for those who like The Rocketeer, he does great. Dave Stevens does great stuff. But I just not up here. One of the ones that up here is like, oh, give me like $300 for this thing here at a 9.4, because I don't see the demand for it. I mean, Dave Stevens is a name, but there's not enough Dave Stevens people out there buying up his books to the point where there's none available. The same thing could be said about ASM 300. There's more enough copies of ASM 300 where it doesn't have to be a 4-digit price tag on it. Same thing could be said about a lot of the other titles. For example, like a lot of the Invincible titles. The later issues, I get it. Short run, all the other stuff, I get it, but they still should not be in the hundreds of dollars as of right now. At best, $50 to $75 price tag is somewhere that I would probably put it if you're looking for something that is in a 9.8, let alone if you get it encapsulated inside. Now you're up here went from like a $75 book to a $500 book. But the market is lying to us because of the simple fact that there's really not a demand like they say it is to that degree. In a way, we are letting FOMO get the best of us. And for those who don't know what FOMO is, it's the fear of missing out. We have too much playing on the fear of missing out where people are willing to spend the extra money just to say that they have it, for the simple fact that the return on investment is not going to be there unless they hold the book for like 40 plus years. And even then, there's still no guarantee, period. There really is no guarantee here. And it's like, no, I do not have that. So if you have that one, you can put that off to the side for me here. But as you saw, Aaron, I just picked up a Captain Hero #1, which to me was kind of like a harder thing to find too. But saying all that to say is, it's one of those things that we have to kind of be like in this patient mode, as opposed to, oh, I really have to have it because everybody else, it seems like everybody else want to get it. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't really made the move to get an ASM 300. I really want to get a giant size X-Men #1, but when I truly think about it, I got X-Men Special Edition, I got Classic X-Men #1, I got all of these other reprints of giant size #1. The urgency of getting the giant size one is just more of like a vanity type deal at this point. Am I willing to pay 5 figures for it? No. Am I willing to pay 4 figures for it? Maybe. It depends. It really depends, because I don't have to have everything in a 9.8. I don't have to have everything in high grade at this point. You know, if I was able to get one at like a 3-4, 4-3-2, or even a 1, at least a well presenting one, it would be great here. Okay, thank you, Aaron. But that's kind of like the thing. But other people was like, oh, I have to have it here. I just going to go and do what I gotta do to pay $15,000 for a giant size one. I was like, no. There's plenty of giant size X-Men #1 out there where you don't have to rush out to get it. But here's the thing: the demand for it may not be as great as what we think it is. There's a lot of people holding on to books, and we never know. There could be like a warehouse find where somebody goes into like an abandoned warehouse and oh, here we go. We found 20,000 more giant size X-Men #1 hidden away. Or somebody open up, a lost storage locker, and lo and behold, it's full of comic books. And now we got 200,000 boxes of comic books, and then people open it up, and now we got all of these golden and silver age treasures now unearthed in high grade. It changes the demand, and it changes the availability of the number of copies. It will wreak havoc across the market, the secondary market, when you truly think about it. However, because of the way that people are up here talking about the fear of missing out and everything to that magnitude, and a lot of the market manipulation as far as printing is concerned in the modern age. I mean, again, I would still talk about this to this day. Dork #1 should not have been $50 coming out the gate for a cover A on New Comic Book Day. I just don't get how the FOMO for that got played up to such a degree, or how the actual publisher played with the numbers to short print it to have something like that to happen. That to me should tell you a lot about how sinister this so-called secondary market is. Because on New Comic Book Day, a new comic book should be cover price. You don't know if the title is going to have a staying power or not, or if people would ever want it. But somehow, some form, or some fashion, the hype train came out. People flocked to it, and then when they flocked to it, they saw a price tag, and they was willing to pay it. it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I'm not saying don't spend your money on something that you want. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is that that market, as far as how valuable that book is, that soon, is a lie. That $50 investment may not come back $50 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 25 years from now, 30 years from now. You just really don't know. There are a lot of comic books out there that's been, 50 plus years, and you see a lot of them in dollar bins. A couple of series that I actually collect from Archie, a lot of the Jughead books, still, 50-cent dollar bin, $2 bin type books. Even some of the more key books in his series here. Josie, same way. But Josie is more like, $2, $3, $5. And even some of the keys per se, until you get into like the early Josies. And when I say early Josie, we're talking about anything from like issue 25 to number 1 are going to command higher dollar values because they're few and far between out there. Unless all of a sudden somebody just comes up with like, here's a lot of Archie books. And guess what we found? We found a lot of the Josies, Josie and the Pussycats, and Jughead. Everybody finding Archies, the Betty and Veronicas, the Betty and Me, the Reggie Wise Guys jokes, and all this other stuff. People are seeing that all over the place. People are seeing the digest all over the place. But it is what it is. The actual price of an Archie number 1 is fetching somewhere in between like four or 5 digits. It is what it is. But it goes back far enough into like, I think almost like 1930s. No. Yeah. Probably like 39, 38, 39. I can't remember off the top of my head here, but it does go that far back. And it's weird. It's weird, and it's weird in an aspect of, for a series that goes that far back and have that much history, that it's only in the 4 and 5 digits compared to a Action Comics 1, which is in the millions. And I get it. People are going to say, well, popularity and this, that, and the other, demand. It's like, yeah, everybody wish that they could have a Action Comics number 1. The book has been reprinted so many times over. I get it. But so has Archie number 1. But Archie number 1 is not in the $1 million standpoint. And one could say that the demand for Archie number 1 isn't there. But with some collectors, it really is. But here's the problem. When we take a look at demand, we look at demand based upon those who actually collect, as opposed to potential. And that's where the problem with modern comics coming into play. And the reason why the secondary market is lying. The secondary market is making it as if anybody who has interest in the title is a potential collector, as opposed to the actual collector itself. So it creates a false demand for it. Meaning that if, let's just say, Image Comics prints out Brand New Comic X number 1, and they print out, let's say, maybe 100,000 copies of it. And we know, based upon those comic book collectors that hit stores and everything, you might have maybe 40,000 people already pre-ordering it. But if they put a good hype train behind it and got people who do not collect talking about it, they could use FOMO tactics to say that 100,000 copies is not going to be enough to cover everybody, which creates a fear that getting one is a damn near impossibility. which is one of the biggest crock of shits ever. Let me see what it was saying. It's like, yeah, people enjoy FOMO, though, unfortunately. Enjoy is a weird word to use, Aaron. And that's the thing. It's like, why would you enjoy FOMO? I wouldn't enjoy missing out on something. If I missed out on something, I missed out on it. You know, time and opportunity is always going to be a killer, whether it be with dealing with things that we collect, whether it be job opportunities, whether it be financial opportunities to make money. Time and opportunity are mutually exclusive things here. So you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff in life regardless. So enjoying FOMO doesn't make sense to me in that aspect there. It's just more along the lines that if you're being ruled by FOMO, then you're really not truly thinking about things in a most logical aspect. You're thinking about it more out of emotion. I mean, like I said before, one of the books that I do regret buying in my comic book collecting lifetime was the gold cover of Onslaught #1, the one that actually had real gold built into it. That was my very first $100+ book that I ever bought. Is that book worth $100+ now? Hell no. But at the time, it was something that was not thought of. It was a good way to get people interested in variants. But it is what it is here. Yeah, case in point, Berserk, because of the whole Keanu Reeves and the possibility of movies, television, and all the yada 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 stuff that everybody bought into the crowdfunding campaign, and it is what it is. Yeah, people like to be there for the hype. It's kind of strange, and it is strange. It is very strange. It's not logical, but it is kind of strange. It's like, yeah, it's like they don't really care. They just want the thrill. And again, all the thrill is serving to one's own emotions, you know, self-satisfying gratitude based upon emotion, if I could say in that aspect here. And yeah, but they don't want to admit that though. And that's part of the problem. That's really the greater part of the problem and reason why we're getting so bamboozled in the secondary market. People are up here are saying it's like, well, this one book is going to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, no. Because if that was the case, you know, it's like First Gambit would have made me dividends. Having a copy of Ultimate Fallout 4 for first Miles Morales when it was on its upper echelon high would have, you know, got me out of some debt if I really wanted to sell it. But the thing about what I think about collecting here is like, do you have the run, the whole entire run? Because the whole entire run to me, it has more value than the one issue or the one side issue or the one sought after issue. Why? Because with the whole run or the whole volume, you have the full and complete story from beginning to end. There is no second guessing, you know, stories in between there. There's no second guessing on what you would have missed. Now, granted, I don't collect annuals, but if I need to go back and collect annuals, the annuals will be easier to pick up than the actual series. Point in case, X-Men Volume 1. I can still go back and get all of those annuals if need be and have a complete run. I do have some Uncanny X-Men annuals from the 1963 series. I do have some, but I don't have them all. But I can go back and get them and truly be a completionist. But from my point of view, it's like having issue #1 to, I want to say 524 is the final issue of the first volume. Having that run complete speaks volumes. It speaks to the dedication to that to that series. Like the reason why I it's like I get so tired of people the naysayers with me and Wonder Woman. It's like you don't realize how hard it is to collect Wonder Woman from volume one to the degree that I have to now. That's not an easy thing to do here. You still got people who still trying to complete the Perez run, which is volume two. And I did it, throughout volume two, volume three, volume four, volume five, and now got pretty much all of volumes, have all volume six. And only 106 issues away from doing it from volume one. That's a library. That's literally I could pretty much have like a Wonder Woman library, and that's not even including some of the annuals. And that's kind of like the major thing here is. And Aaron say, yeah, I'd rather have the whole run too. I mean, it is what it is. Again, annuals to me were kind of like, were the previews. It's like, this was like the year. It's almost like how you have like Time magazine. It's like, the year of 1926 or the year of 2026 Time issue. It's a issue that is like a timestamp for that particular moment in that series history. And so I look at those stories as something that's not part of the ongoing saga that is the main series here. To me, that is more of a time date stamp of what stories would have been like during that time frame. And that's the reason why I never got into annuals, because when annuals had nothing to do with the rest of the run, it's just like, why am I collecting this? It's like if I was an annual collector, it'd be like, oh yeah, it's like once a year. I could pick up a book once a year and get my X-Men fix that way. I mean, that's just the way that annuals happened to be that, during the time frame that I was collecting here. No, I'm not saying that annuals were bad. To me, it was just a different animal altogether. Annuals to me were a different animal because they were often not related to the main run of the books here. So, like I said, it's like I treated them like how Time magazine would have like the man of 2022. That's a time date stamp of what things were like in 2022. It has nothing to do with the overall continuity of the run of volume two. It was just a sampling of a sampling of what type of stories were being told in 2022 or 2026 or 2025 or 2024 or 2023. There's nothing wrong with collecting annuals. I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but when I was collecting X-Men like that, when I was collecting Wonder Woman, when I was collecting G.I. Joe, I didn't collect G.I. Joe annuals because they really didn't have much to do with the regular run of the series. They were just time date stamps. It was what it was. Yeah, but they would be nice for the library, and which is true. And that's why I'm saying it's like eventually I'm going to get around to it, but I feel like I could do that at my leisure because the likelihood of all of the annuals drying up is fewer and far between because everybody's looking more so for the individual issues to complete runs. This is one of the reasons why, and I hate to say this because I have argued people tooth and nail. It's like, oh yeah, collective volumes is a waste of time and this, that, and the other. But it's like nowadays I'm seeing like, no, back then people were right. Collected volumes would be the best way to go because as it gets harder and harder to collect individual issues, collected volume will be the quickest way to get the full entire story. or the full entire run of certain things here. Now, how publishers are doing it now, I still question their ethical aspect of it, because to me it's like, if you like, perfect example, Fire and Ice When Hell Freezes. That's what the title, by the way. They already put out a trade paperback of the 6 issues, and they did that a few months after those 6 issues were released. And I'm sitting up here, it's like, if I would have waited 2 months here, I have to weigh my options here. If I wait 2 months after the series is over and buy the collected series, the collected volume in, paperback or hardback, or however it comes, it doesn't give me the same feel of reading each and every issue the way that I normally would. In some aspects, yes. In other aspects, no. And the way that I look at it is, I look at how I came across V for Vendetta. When the movie V for Vendetta came out, one of the things that they did was they released a trade paperback of the full run of V for Vendetta. And that's how I read V for Vendetta. Now, as I'm getting sporadic issues of that now, I'm up here, it's like, you know what? Reading the actual individual issues in this case did not give me the same type of feels of reading that collected volume when I did to before going into the movie here. I felt that I was more informed going into the movie than I would have been if I saw the movie first and then came to that book. But, that's a whole different aspect here. But they also put you in that mindset of, instead of paying the markup for each one of those individual issues back when the movie first came out, because, again, like I said, the secondary market and the false demand that comes with it. Because the hype of the movie coming out, most comic book sellers would mark the books up in price because of the popularity of the fact that the movie came out, not because of the fact that the books were more valuable. I came out better buying that collected volume for, I think it was like, during that time, I think it was like $29.99 or $19.99. But that comes back, paying a lot more dividends than paying anywhere between $5 to $6 an issue during that time. But saying all that to say is that the lie that was there was, collective volume was there, and they could not mark up the collective volume because it just came out for the fact of the movie at like a $19.99 price. But for me to buy each individual issue, it's like, yeah, they're going to try to charge $20 for issue number 1. They're going to try to charge anywhere between $5 to $10 for each other issue after that, all the way up to issue 12, I believe. But saying all that to say is, this is why the secondary market has been lying to us. And those who are going into the so-called investment side trying to say that let the hobby fund itself, it's like, yeah, I get why you want to do it. But the thing about it is, it's a lot more work than what it's worth. Because, again, the whole idea of catching and releasing is really based upon the time frame in that finite bubble to get rid of stuff at its ultimate point of popularity, and hopefully, if you love it enough, to come back to it, to catch it on a downswing of the actual turnaround before it levels off again, where you could get more bang for your buck. I mean, it is what it is. And it makes you kind of wonder, and this is one of the things, this is one of the questions that I'm glad that other people who are collecting ask. And I will bring this up here, and let me see what Aaron's saying here. I really want you to tell people how it is on Matt's show. Well, that's the thing. Even if I did tell people the way that it is on his show, will they listen? It comes back down to what I said before. I'm not an influencer. I'm a creator. I create books. I know my facts and I tell facts. How you interpret those facts is how you interpret it. How you use those facts is how you use it. I cannot make people do the right thing. Only thing I could do is put them on the right path as far as giving them the best information that I have at that time. And that's all that I can do. But if I was an influencer, I would be up here trying to manipulate whatever facts, whatever information, whatever I can to get people to do X, Y, and Z. This is why you have people who remain nameless up here trying to still get people to buy Darkhawk #1, saying that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. There's reason why you got people up here trying to get everybody to buy Amazing Spider-Man 300 because of the whole thing about Venom. This is why you got everybody still searching for Secret Wars #8. This is why you got all these people up here trying to get a Hulk 181. That's what an influencer does. They don't care about statistics. They don't care about facts. They care about, oh, this is a key. This is a status symbol. I want the status symbol. In some people's eyes, this is a status symbol. Because, again, this is a Dave Stevens. To some people's eyes, that's a status symbol. You know, but it is what it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. But it's just kind of like one of those things. So it's like you could tell people the facts to things all they want. But the thing about it is, do they believe it? And what they do with that information. Now, if you want me to cross over into the realm of influencer, I don't know about that. That's just not me. Like, you're right. There's like they won't listen. Yep. Yeah, you can lead a bean to water, but you can't make her drink. Exactly. But that's the thing. You have to understand, you got a lot of people who going into that influencer role because it makes money. And they do crappy things. And I hate to say it in that aspect. They do a lot of crappy things, manipulating factual data for their own personal gain to get you to do something on their behalf. Have you noticed that with a lot of influencers would get other people to buy a product that they probably don't really use themselves, or a product that they got for free that they don't really like in that regards. But because it makes them money, they put on that happy face and they sing, they dance, they do whatever to get you to buy that exact same thing here. That's one of the reasons why you don't see me up here. It's like, oh, I'm flying a CGC box today because we got a CGC unboxing. It's like, no, I got stuff graded. Whether it be if I got a CBCS slab, a PSA slab, or a CGC slab, it's a slab. I don't show favoritism. When I show a book, it's like, oh, look at my next Marvel haul. It's like, no, just look at my next comic book haul. Because Marvel doesn't own Spirit. Marvel doesn't own Ghost. Marvel doesn't own some of the other books that I actually own in my collection. Nor does DC. It's just a comic book haul. But if I crossed into that road of influencer, it'd be like, yeah, Marvel got the next greatest thing that's coming out and blah, 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 blah. And Marvel. It's all Marvel. If anything, if I could be an influencer on, I'd probably be an influencer of getting people to drink this thing right here. My soda of choice. But you see, I don't have the juice for that because they haven't been knocking on my door trying to get other comic book readers to drink my drink of choice here. Nor do I make you guys want to go out there and say and buy it. It's a nice thing to have. It is refreshing, but it's not my job to make you guys go out there and buy whatever. Yeah, I still drink it. I still drink it. I mean, soda is not for everybody, just like alcohol is not for everybody. I mean, we all drink water, but then again, what type of water? Not everybody drinks tap water. Not everybody drinks filter water. Not everybody drinks Perrier. Again, if you're going to be an influencer, you're going to have to be a spokesperson to some type of brand in some form or some fashion. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the way the game is played. And another reason why a lot of times when you look at things that's being sold to us, especially off of secondhand. And when I say secondhand, that's what secondary market really means. Secondary market is talking about the marketing of books that, well, in comic terms, it's talking about the means of comic books being sold secondhand. And when we say secondhand, we're not necessarily talking about books that are being bought on New Comic Book Day. We're talking about books that are considered now officially back issue that we could get on like eBay or places such as Hip Comics or any place that carries back issue. That's the secondary market. It could be a brick and mortar comic book store. It could sometimes even be a Barnes and Noble. It could be a thrift store. It could be somebody's garage sale. That's the secondary market. But like Aaron was alluding to, you have a lot of people out here on the TikToks and YouTubes trying to convince you that certain books are more valuable than others. And I'm just up here to say, it's like, you know, you got tools out there nowadays, so you don't have to believe them. I mean, you got things such as Key Collector. You still got things like GPA analysis. You got things like Go Collect. But even with using those tools, the one thing that people still do not truly have a grasp over, which helps them to understand speculation and when you're about to get bamboozled, is how do you truly look at the demand for a book? If something is really hot when it first comes out, does not necessarily mean that it's going to be really hot 10 years from now. It would be nice to buy it at, you know, cover price, as opposed to paying $200 20 years from now. But who's to say that 20 years from now that $6 book is not a 50-cent book sitting in a 50-cent bin? You just don't know. That's the thing about where I was saying that the secondary market is lying to us. We truly don't know the demand the way that we think we do, especially in this modern age of comic book collecting. Because in this modern age, people are so much into FOMO that they don't realize that the potential for anybody who's not a collector to get a copy is like little to none. So you're being overly fearful and in emotion to pay the extra markup for a book that you could probably get at a cheaper price if you just wait. But it is what it is here. Yeah, no Kool-Aid or Newports for Joe. She went with Newports. Yep. Who's to say that people gotta like lemon? Why can't it be orange slices or lime slices or citrus water? Why can't it be grapefruit water? But the point that I'm making here, Aaron, is that even with that being said, it's like It's not my job to make people drink lemon water. It's not my job to make people drink cherry Coke. It's not really my job to make people do anything. Yeah, we're going to have good discussions. We're going to talk about the facts and what's really going on here. But it's not my job to add on to the FOMO. My job is to be like, hey, maybe we need to wake up from the FOMO and make better decisions and look at things from a bigger point of view. And the thing about it is, like, be realistic about the goals here. I don't really downplay those who want to have the hobby fund itself, but I'm going to be realistic with them. I'm going to be like, you're going to take the time to actually look at and follow trends from that point forward. As much as you might like your Ultimate Fallout 4, when the time comes, you have to do the catch and release. You have to release it back. Because if you don't release it back, how are you going to get your next set of books? The money has to come somewhere. And if you don't have a job to support your habit, then what you going to do? I mean, those are the types of things that I realistically sit down and try to get people to really look at. I'm not saying don't do it, because you do whatever you want with your own collection here. However, make the smarter decision. If you're going to follow the logic of letting the hobby fund itself, follow it to the best of your ability. Don't half-ass it. Because if you half-ass it, then next thing you know, it'll be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just really don't want to give up this and don't really want to get over it. It's like, but you follow that line of thought here. And if you follow it, it's going to work itself out by those methods. And there's so many people that have done exactly that here. And if you really need the help and really need the guidance on that, then, like I said, sit down and talk to Briar Bryce Comics. He made a living doing that. That's how his comic book brick and mortar works. He catches and releases books on a daily. But yet there's some that he keeps in his personal collection. But a lot of the big books that come through, I will be tempted to hoard. I would literally be tempted to hoard, but he does it. And yeah, it's a major axe to grind, because yeah, when you see a Amazing Fantasy 15 come through, not once, not twice, maybe 6 or 7 times in the lifetime of your store, and you release it back out into the wild, and then next thing you know, here comes another one, and the next one might be a bigger grade. You're doing something right. I'm sorry. It's just, that's the nature of the beast here. But the method is there. That's why I say you can't half-ass it. Because if you're going to half-ass it, then you're going to be ass out of luck. It's just the way that it is here. Yeah, catch and release. And that's the way that you have to look at it. It's like, and that was one of the things that philosophically he put out there about, what if you did own a Action Comics #1, and how come nobody really keeps it in their collection? Because if you truly think about it, you have an Action Comics #1. Let's take the one that just recently sold for over $1 million. It's so over $1 million and everything. It goes into somebody's collection. It sits at the auction house for so long, and this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. And then the person doesn't take possession of it. For some reason, it eventually cycles back around and goes back up for auction. And you see a lot of these bigger books, like the Action Comics #1, the Detective Comics, the first Batman, those get cycled around through like Heritage auctions After so many months, they come right back around. And they're going for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. But why? Why haven't people just put them in their collection and let it sit? For one, the insurance on those type of items are pricey. Secondly, where are you going to store something of that higher value? And three, 9 times out of 10, if you're spending $1 million on a comic book that you really can't afford to maintain, the quickest answer is to put it right back out to auction for the next collector to have it. That is one of the reasons why his model works, because he realized that eventually, if you did have these ultimate big boy books, you're going to have to release it. You're going to have to. Either you're going to have to release it, or you're going to have to let other people be able to view it on a consistent basis. So you have to means that you're going to have to be able to have some type of high value observatory or a museum for people to see it on display. That's the only way that you could justify the cost of the insurance and all the other stuff surrounding it. And that is so truthful. That is so truthful to the nth degree. This is the reason why you don't have people up here, clamoring about having, $1 billion comic book collection. Because if he has something like that, how do you insure it? The insurance alone would be killer, let alone the security and the storage for it. But saying all that to say is the reason why I feel that we're getting bamboozled by the secondary market. Some books that are very popular are not really the price that they, alluded to be, such as the second print Gotham City Sirens. One sale on GPA showing that it's over $400. One. However, the 9.2 went for $40. And the 9.2 is more of a recent sale. The 9.8 for $400 were over a year ago. And no other 9.8s had ever hit the market. Or at least not in the graded aspect that hit the market and been sold. And that's the other thing. Not every sale of a book is being recorded. So how do we truly know what true fair market value is? We can make our own best guess, but a lot of people are not going to do their homework and break out the calculator and look at every last sale and get a good average of it. Granted, we do got great tools with such as GPA analysis and Go Collect. We could look at things like Key Collector or Cover Price. We have the tools. But even with those tools, we don't have enough data. Nowhere near enough data. Even if we really went truly old school with Overstreet. And this is one of the things that, I have argued tooth and nail with a lot of other comic book collectors. Even with Overstreet, it was once a year. And I even said it to several degrees here, and I still stick by it. One of the main reasons why I hated the price guide in Wizard is because of the simple fact that the price guide in Wizard was biased. It wasn't based upon sales data. It was based upon the whims of a magazine. It was based upon whatever data that they tried to create. This is one of the reasons why I kind of wish places like Comic-Con was still operating at full capacity. And hopefully they was getting truthful information from Diamond and the publishers. And quotation marks about truthful. And when I say truthful, I'm talking about the actual number of comic books printed as opposed to the actual number that was actually sent to the distributor. Those are two different numbers, by the way, people. When Comichron was a thing where you could go out to their website and see the numbers, Diamond used to report the number of what was requisitioned through them. We never truly knew the number of books that were actually printed. That's the reason why I say we don't know the full data. The whole way of everything being set up is set up in such a way that someone can come in and bamboozle anybody, because the data is there, but it's never been collected. Not every sale is being collected. Therefore, we can't get a true fair market value. There's not enough sales data out there to truly see or project a demand from people who actually buy, as opposed to potential buyers. Potential doesn't mean that you're a customer. It just means that it's a possibility. We deal with absolutes. If you bought one, you bought one. If you didn't, you didn't. So the numbers that should matter is the ones that did. And you compare that to the number of how many were available at the time. The game of speculation is not an easy game to play. It really isn't. But if you decide to play it, learn the rules. Really learn the rules. Because when I say really learn the rules, I'm talking about understand that the majority of the data that you really need to collect to truly speculate is really the numbers from those who actually collect. There's a lot of rumor mills out there. There's a lot of campaigns and hype trains for a series. But the actual data that you really need to collect as a whole here is, one, how many copies did the publisher actually create at the time of the release of that book? And two, how many copies were actually sent to distributors in some form or some fashion? And when I say distributors, we're talking about anybody from like Penguin Random House to Lunar to Diamond to even Target, Barnes and Noble, and all these other places that can distribute those books, even places such as Comixology. They all play a factor of how many actual copies of that book is being sold. And yes, I mentioned Comixology because digital sometimes count too. And that's also numbers that can be used to make the FOMO seem a little bit bigger than what it is. But saying all that to say, we got to be careful out there. They have been bamboozling a lot of us into making a lot of these decisions on what we buy for our own entertainment in the comic book industry, where money can be made. And not saying that it's not worth it. Of course, comics are worth it. But I'm just saying we just got to be a little bit smarter. What was the thing that Uncle Scrooge used to say? You have to be smarter than the smarties and tougher than the toughies. That's what we got to be when we out here collecting now. We got to be a lot smarter and a lot more tougher. So on that note, I'm going to leave that rant alone here. I said my stuff here. I have made people aware of everything here. Hopefully people enjoyed the comics, the comments, and I can't even say proof, but the perspective that everything that was being said here. Yeah, you already know I'm about to get ready to wrap up, but I know you got more things that you probably want to ask here, Aaron, about the topic here. I know, because this is one of the things that you and I have talked about several times over here about collecting for the love of it. as opposed to the monetary value and a lot of FOMO and all the other stuff that comes into it. Because you kind of see the same thing here. It's like, for those who don't know, Aaron is also a musician here. So he also is in the music industry. He has his own albums and everything. And he has seen it also in the music industry that people come out here thinking that, oh, I got the next greatest hit, I'm going to make all this money. And it's not about the love of the craft anymore. People are not making music for the sake of making good music. It's the same thing could be said about comics. It's like, I see a lot of people up here just like, oh, I'm going to make this next great series and make all this money. It's like, you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to go out here and tell the best story that I could tell and just go from there. If it makes money, it makes money. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I accomplished my goal. I told my story. In the story. And that's the end of it. That's the end all be all. If you're able to tell your story from beginning to end and you sell one copy of it, you accomplish your job. You have told your story. It has been shared to at least somebody else. That should give any creator a nice sense of pride that somebody else was willing to listen and enjoy your story. Yeah, telling the story is what's important. Agree. Exactly. So at this point here, we're at the point of the show where you guys, like I said, the show is about you guys, those that are in the chat, those who are watching, over the interwebs, whether it be live or in the rerun. This is your part where you could comment away. I do this show for you to have access to me here. So if you got any questions dealing with what we talked about tonight, or anything else that's on your mind that's been bothering you about comics, the comic books industry and everything, let's go ahead and talk about it. Because if not, we're going to wrap up everything here. So I know Aaron's out there. I know that the Sunstriders clan is out there. We got other people that's watching. Right now is your time. You have access to me. What's on your mind? I'm going to give it a few moments here because I know it takes a while for people to type here. But I'm quite happy here now because I could put up a lot of these, put up the slab back and everything now. I'm actually happy about the 9.8. That's an extra 9.8 to add to the collection here. I can take the stupid price sticker off of this one now. Give you guys a couple more minutes here, or else we're going to go ahead and give my East Coast people possibly anywhere between 15 to 10 minutes of their Saturday back before they be in the future again. Oh, by the way, for all of those who are mothers or mothers to be, happy Mother's Day, especially on my East Coast people, because I'm not going to go into midnight in the East Coast here, so I'm going to get that out the way now. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there who are a mother. And if you do this exact same thing, oh wait, okay, here we go. He said, I was thinking I don't mind the FOMO crew anymore. I was like, I don't mind the FOMO crew. It's their loss. That's true. It is their loss. But at least with FOMO, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. What you value may not be seen in the same cost of monetary. Meaning that if you pay $100 for something that makes you ultimately happy for the rest of your life, that's $100 worth it. But if it's $100 that you're paying for something that might give you temporary joy and then you regret it later, then what is it worth? What is it truly worth? Is it really worth all the regret that you have now because it didn't bring you what you originally thought about? You have to kind of wait in that aspect here. Yeah, it's like I do the claim sale for the interaction, not for the big. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what any claim sale is. It's like the best way I look at it here is like my best success with Whatnot is just putting the books out there and letting people buy it from my bin. Being out there on the show and talking to people, it's just interaction. But yet at the same time, it's like, you know, am I really making more and more friends that way? Or is people just like, well, since you don't have Invincible, I'm just going to go be about my merry way. Sometimes it's more about the journey than the actual books itself or the money behind it here. He said, I've been using the website Cover Price now, not just relying on eBay sold as here. Well, what I usually tend to use is GP Analysis and Go Collect. And Cover Price is pretty good, but the thing about it is, I get it, you deal more with raw, but that's the reason why I use Go Collect, because Go Collect separates the stuff out between CGC, CBCS, and all the different grading companies, and their fair market value is really based upon for any raw book that can come across in those categories for grading. But that's just me. GP Analysis is more accurate because it goes based upon sales data, which means that it picks up on a lot of the different auction houses, such as Heritage, the one owned by Metropolis, eBay, and a few others. And if it is a sale, if a book actually sells, they grab that data, they look at what it sold for, and they keep a time span of how often it was sold and take in the average value for you to actually come up with your own fair market value based upon the trends of how it's like it might be, over like a 2-year period, it might be like $1,000. Then like last year it took a dip and goes down to 1,000. And then 6 months ago it came back up to 1,500. But even 90 days ago it might go down to $750. But the last sale may have been like $1,000. You get to look at that trend and figure out your own fair market value based upon that. You don't get influenced into thinking what the fair market value is. Yeah, eBay sold as does show what people are willing to pay on the internet for comics through their platform. That's the other thing that people don't really grasp. It's like, yeah, eBay sold as gives you what people are willing to pay for on that platform. That does not necessarily mean that they're going to come over to your claim sale and give you $500 for the same book. That was one of the things that to try to get people to understand. It's like, well, why would you want to sell your books on Whatnot when you have eBay? Because of the difference of the platform. The platform, with the reason I have Whatnot, because Whatnot was easier for me because of, one, they paid all the shipping. I never have to come out of pocket for shipping. They paid the shipping. And besides, they didn't take a cut. They didn't take a cut out of the actual sales to do the shipping. Yeah, they do have a commission fee for you using their platform, but the shipping is like they have their own means of paying for and collecting the shipping. It's like we never have to pay shipping out of pocket on our own anymore. Unlike eBay. eBay does not force you to use their shipping, but you are responsible for shipping. Whether you go through them, whether you go through your post office, and in my case, where I go through stamps.com. So, like I said, it's a lot of pros and cons depending on which platform that you use here. I know you don't necessarily agree with that. No, I'm not saying I don't agree with it. It's just more along the lines of understanding that if you're going to use eBay sold as, guess what? Time for you to break out the calculator and look at the hundreds and hundreds of sales for that book, as opposed to 20 or 50 to get a true fair market value. Because, like I said before, to me, eBay sold as are one-offs. Every last one of those auctions are one-offs. If you got people who are willing to pay thousands of dollars on eBay, but won't pay 50 cents on Whatnot for the exact same book, that's a problem. That's the reason why I said it's not enough sales data. And like I said, platform also comes into play. Because it would be more along the lines of like, Aaron, if people are willing to pay you $2,000 for the latest issue of Captain Marvel, that's $2,000 in your pocket. But if they're only paying $100 on eBay, it's safe to say that fair market value is not $2,000. It's way less. And let's say, let's add the fact that they got about 20 sales of that on Whatnot at about 50 cents. Now that total goes way down as possible as far as what fair market value is, which goes into the whole fact of the matter about secondary market is lying to us. That's the lie. The lie is we don't know the true demand, and we really don't know what fair market value is unless we do the math ourselves. Yeah, so you want to check Go Collect. Yeah, Go Collect is interesting. I have a membership for that, and it works. It works, but there's a problem with how they calculate fair market value. Their fair market value is a little bit on the higher side, but it's not as accurate based upon sales data. They have an actual formula that they use whatever sales data that they do collect, and they plug it into a formula to come up with fair market value. Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, you get to see the books, you get to see what is actually going on sales wise, and they give you what their recommendation is fair market value. So we got about 10 minutes left here. Wondering if Aaron got any more comments here. So it's safe for me to say to this. So it is good to use a combination for things, I suppose. Yes, always use a combination. One of the things that I missed, and this is one of the reasons why I brought up Comichron, because Comichron actually showed me the true reason for Wonder Girl, the Yara Flor series getting canceled, was not based upon comic book sales. It was doing pretty okay for sales. The real reason why it got canceled was due to the creative staff. And I believe that even more so to this day, because if the creative staff could have stayed on schedule, and then didn't have people rotating in and out where Jonelle Jones could keep up with the story, we wouldn't have what had happened with Wonder Girl being canceled and interrupted, only to have the 2-issue special for the new Trial of the Amazons, and then just dropped altogether. Because Comichron showed that it was above the threshold before, for most books to getting canceled, which was usually somewhere around that 25,000 units a month mark. So it was doing very well. People want to blame that the Option TV series failed. It's like, no. Again, television series had nothing to do with people who buy comics and read comics buying the comics. So, that's one of the things that I kind of wish that people in the term option for television or movie, the speculation for that just goes away. You can't always make a television watcher or a movie watcher or a comic book reader, but a comic book reader can go and watch a movie or watch TV. It's not a two-way street here. So with little wait, hold on. Okay, we got. Well, good night, Joe. I'm going to rewatch Loki with delight. Okay, not a problem here, Aaron. So on that note, Sunstrider Clan, happy Mother's Day for all of you and yours here. To all the women that's out there that's watching the show here, whether it be live or in reruns. happy Mother's Day, especially if you're on the East Coast. Happy Mother's Day, because they're going to give you at least maybe 5 minutes back here of your Saturday before you get surprised with all your nice little goodies for Mother's Day here. And so until next time, live life, grow, and be well, and we are out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the content on this channel, and we are out. Laters.